Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. The headlines. DP President Harry KALABA weighs in on drug shortages in hospitals. PF Vice President given LUBINDA nabbed for corruption. Government urged to get rid of CADRES masquerading as contractors. And in international news, emergency polio vaccination campaign gets underway in Malawi. And in sports, CHIPOLOPOLO coach challenged to find the winning formula. Join me with the details after this commercial.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel. On Monday, 21st March 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba at 20:45 hours with his guest, Professor Munkumba.
Youth empowerment and inclusive development. In Zambia, we have at least 9 million youths, of which 2 million are excluded, and they need to be included in the affairs of the nation. The subject of youth empowerment and youths themselves, they are both an asset if well harnessed, but can be a time bomb, and a difficult time bomb to diffuse if not properly handled in a proactive manner.
Don't let this moment pass you by. Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
And now the main news in detail. A family of Nchanga North in Chingola has cheated death after a vehicle careered off the road on Sunday evening, breaking into the house. In an interview, owner of the house, Miss Albertina Chama, 58, narrates that all family members were in the kitchen when this happened, hence the escape from death. Meanwhile, neighbors have called for a barricade to be constructed between the road and the houses in the said area, stating that this is the third time such an incident has happened.
This is the scene of an accident that happened on Sunday at around 19 hours in Nchanga North, Chingola district. The living room of a house belonging to Albertina Chama, 58, has been left open after a vehicle careered off the road, hitting into a house. While no injuries have been recorded for both the family and the driver, Ms. Chama says there is need to create a metal barricade to prevent cars from coming near the houses, stating that this is not the first time such an incident has happened.
Yachitike 19 hours tukwainus tulikanganda elo kuchashuka bonse tatwaikele mu sitting room twalifuma twali ku kitchen mkwai elo twawumfile fenomba chisound chaisalila kanshi ni chimotoka yapula pa chipunda yaisa ingila munganda ito tyachitike mkwai kwena immediately nalipokelela abantu abengi abayishile mukumona kwalisaisa na bakansela abakuno kwine kuwadi balisa tumonako naba neighbors yabengi balisa tuchitako konso ifine mkwai.
A neighbor of the affected has aired similar concerns while calling on drivers to avoid overspeeding.
Kwena tuwapapata ngobuteko ngama ifufwe bana benu twafweni ko kutubikirako ama efficient ya papa roads bantu the first time accident yachitika poyo yeino mukuyana number 3 miyoto okupitiriro kuita panganda twapapa tata tuleko kuti omwe wabamani mama yetu ali batemuicha sana twapapa tango kuteko twafweniko ora ne bamonene emitebo abantu bera kutushia miyotoka bare making sure bare insha kupano no chimbe cyo ngalomba ko kuti batubikira kwa mahampu muri umutsebo at least abana nabo bakabeko safe.
Meanwhile, Deputy Mayor Mr. Richard Kabwe, who is also area councillor, has promised help to the family.
We want to make sure that whatever is happening in our communities, we are aware, so that we see how we can help people. And we reflect that this is just a simple issue. We are going to work together with the DC, the mayor, and make sure that we replace what has been destroyed. Yes, and again, we are also considering this woman who is a widow. We need to help her, especially that she has just lost a husband in a few months. This has happened also. So it's a tragedy to us as a government.
The family has expressed gratitude to the government for the help that has been promised. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News.
The National Association of Medium and Small-Scale Contractors in Zambia has bemoaned the low pace at which the government is sanitizing the construction sector. Addressing the media Monday, Association President Edgar Siakachoka laments that while the sector was in the last 10 years being dominated by speculative dealer, bringing the sector to a halt is not helping the situation. Mr. Siakachoma says 6 months is too long to halt the process without any progress being made.
The construction sector is envisaged to play a powerful role in economic growth in addition to producing structures that add to productivity and quality of life. While the construction sector in Zambia has been undergoing some form of cleansing following the victory of the UPND administration in the 12th August 2021 general elections, the prolongment in the exercise is now posing a serious threat to the sector. National Association for Medium and Small-Scale Contractors President Edgar Siakachoma says the modalities of cleaning up should be revisited to avoid disadvantaging the innocent medium and small-scale contractors whose works have a direct impact on the welfare of citizens.
We know that the sector was, in the past 10 years, dominated by speculative dealers who were bent on making a quick buck. We agree that the sector has to be sanitized and normalized. However, we are not comfortable with the pace at which government is implementing this exercise. We believe that the exercise can be done differently and still achieve good or even better results.
While the construction sector had been politicized in the past, Mr. Siakachoma says most of the association members have in the past 1 year not participated in any government tender, and that this has a negative impact on not only the companies but many families as well.
Of adverts for expired contracts, tenders, and awarding of the tenders already bidded for in the name of cleaning up is a commendable undertaking. However, it has taken too long, causing numerous deaths of road users and untold misery to contractors and their employees. The continuation of late payments, as was the case in the old dispensation, has not helped matters either.
Since construction is labor-intensive, when the sector is working at full capacity, large sections of the national workforce are equally active, hence the need for the government to urgently address the matters raised. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Anti-Corruption Commission Monday formally arrested Patriotic Front Acting President Given Lubinda. Mr. Lubinda, who has been charged with 5 counts of acquiring properties suspected to be proceeds of crime, has been released on bond. Speaking to journalists, Mr. Lubinda says this arrest will accord him a chance to clear his name. And Mr. Lubinda says the former President Edgar Lungu was right by calling the United Party for National Development hypocritical. Meanwhile, legal counsel representing Mr. Lubinda, Jonas Zimba, says that among the issues is a house in Kingsland area and $100,000 in his possession. Mr. Lubinda is scheduled to appear before court on the 21st of April 2022. Mr. Lubinda is among many Patriotic Front members who who have appeared before the anti-corruption for questioning and arrest.
Of five counts, all of them about my account having so much dollars here, so many dollars and so on. In one account, the same dollars are being counted and they're saying this is proceeds of crime. So I want to go to court, so in court we can go through how it is proceeds of crime. How many people in Zambia have dollars in their accounts? How many? Is being in possession of dollars in your account a crime? So we'll have to go and prove this in court. A critical environment, and I cannot but agree with President Edgar Chagolu. We go to bury Rupia Kwezanibanda and we call him a Democrat. We call him a reconciliator. We forget that a few years ago we were saying we cannot support Rupia Banda because he's a corrupt man. That is hypocrisy of the highest order. So yes, this is hypocrisy. We're living in a country of hypocrites. So all of you citizens, I want to assure you, when you hear this leadership say one thing, don't take it for granted. They told you they're reducing fuel. What happened? I told you within a week they will increase it, and indeed they did increase it. You must not buy everything they say, because they say one thing in the night and do the opposite in the day. They say one thing in the day and do the opposite in the night. This you have seen for yourselves today. Thank you.
Expected to be proceeds of crime. So the first one relates to a house in Kingsland. The second one relates to $100,000. The third one relates to $50,000. Fourth one to $80,000 and so on. So it's basically being found in possession of property suspected with proceeds of crime.
Government has been accused of risking people's lives for failing to provide drugs in hospitals. Opposition Democratic Party President KALABA is disappointed over the continued drug shortages in health facilities, a situation he describes as disheartening. Mr. KALABA regrets that people are being given prescriptions to buy drugs, a move he says contradicts the aspiration of the United Party for National Development Administration to provide quality health care services.
The government of the Republic of Zambia is working towards providing universal health coverage so that everyone has access to quality health care without having to face financial hardship. But this route has not been short of challenges, among them the issue of drug shortages. Democratic Party President KALABA Monday, who went to check on patients at the Challenge First Level Hospital to understand their challenges, is concerned that citizens are being prescribed medication at a time when people are struggling to cope with the high cost of living. This woman shared her experience, saying that she was not given medication for her child and that she was only told to buy amoxicillin.
Chalisungusha sana mwana wa 6 months tete ano tablet nangu no nangu ni mwisho na uilete tano yapo so chalisungusha sana kuchipata ubukuru itachukua amoxicillin syrup bali ndembera amoxicillin syrup na register enda pokuya mkushita instead ya kusenda kuchipata bombele po impana domo chipatala file ile sangwe mitisha bana shifira shire sangwe mo especially ku bana au bapose kwa mano abantu abengi bare ilishanya o pusha tawe na ineta kuli bandembere fyati nde yanshite abamone fintu na fishupa.
Surprising, Mr. KALABA, who went to the farmers to check on the drug situation, inquired and was given a bottle which he later delivered to the woman, much to her excitement.
Very sad.
But that also pointed out to the fact that there are inequalities at these health facilities. Mr. KALABA is concerned that the drug shortage is mainly affecting the vulnerable citizens.
And I'm saddened I'm very saddened with what I have found. You know, a situation where even basic medicines that one expects to find, you know, you can't get them here at Chilenje Hospital. Now, if you can't get them here, what about in the far-flung areas? I think government must begin taking the health of our people very seriously. They have to really do everything they can do within their powers to ensure that drugs begin flowing here. Because it's like coming to the hospital now is not to get any medicine. It has to be told what you are suffering from, just to confirm that if you're well and iffy, go and buy the drugs. Now, that is not the way we should proceed.
The opposition leader says the prevailing situation contradicts the aspirations of the United Party for National Development Administration of ensuring quality healthcare services.
Universal health coverage in such a sham way. You can't. We are far from it, because I think we have not prioritized the health sector in this country. And at the end of the day, we are putting our health workers at risk, because patients coming here are beginning to think it is the health workers who are not giving them medicines, and yet they just don't have. All they are getting are prescriptions. Where is the money going to come from? I don't think we should be operating like that. That's not correct. It's very annoying, extremely annoying, that we can be playing such shenanigans with our patients. I think we should drop it. So we are far from it. They promised that they're going to do, they'll take our health system seriously. There is nothing to show that they're taking our health system seriously. We have stayed for 6 months without drugs. How can we survive as a nation like that? How?
Notably, recently, Health Minister Sylvia Masebo, during a ministerial statement in Parliament, explained that it was due to changes in the supply system in view of cleaning up the sector to curb irregularities. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
In other news, the Pharmaceutical Society of Zambia Media and Corporate Affairs Chairperson Samuel Muyunda has dispelled assertions that the pharmaceutical sector is working against government. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Muyunda says pharmaceutical industries might be hesitant to engage with the government because of the fact that the previous months they were not paid for the services rendered. He was reacting to the statement made by the Minister of Health, Sylvia Masebo, recently, where she accused some medical staff of mounting propaganda against the government.
March 17, 2022, the Minister in charge of Health, Sylvia Masebo, allegedly accused some suppliers of medicines and medical supplies whose contracts were cancelled of mounting a strong propaganda against government. The minister stated that there was a systematic plan by the contractors to create a bad picture of the drug situation in the country, when in actual sense the levels of drugs have been low for the last 3 to 5 years. In an interview with Camnet News, Pharmaceutical Society of Zambia Media and Corporate Affairs Chairperson Samuel Muyunda says Minister of Health was of perception that there may be pharmaceutical cartels that are sabotaging government's efforts.
The feeling and perception that there may be cartels that are sabotaging the efforts of the government. So first of all, I think it's important to understand where we are coming from. From the Pharmaceutical Society of Zambia, we can't say with absolute certainty that there is sabotage, and we cannot deny it either.
Mr. Muyunda says pharmaceutical industries might be hesitant to engage with government because of the fact that the previous months they were not paid for the services rendered.
From a professional perspective, in that the pharmaceutical industry may be hesitant to engage with government because of the fact that in the previous days they were not getting paid for the services that they rendered. So one can't blame them flat out for not being so willing to engage government. So to an extent, the onus is also on the state to ensure that the debts that they had are liquidated, and there has to be goodwill from both sides.
Government has released the budgetary allocation from 1.4 billion kwacha to 3.8 billion kwacha for the procurement of medicines and supplies. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Kabushi constituency member of parliament Bowman Lusambo has asked the Lusaka High Court to order for a DNA test to be done on the alleged 4 children he has been accused of fathering with the Lusaka woman, Mercy Coham. In this matter, Mr. Lusambo has dragged Ms. Coham of Lusaka's Kanyama compound to court for alleging that she was in a relationship with him and fathered 4 children. In his affidavit in support of the summons for a paternity test, Mr. Lusambo submits that he is a responsible citizen and a man of honor, highly respected in society. As such, the DNA test will be able to prove that the allegations by Ms. Coham are incorrect and untrue.
Eager to prove his innocence, that he is not the father of the 4 alleged children, former Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has pleaded with the Lusaka High Court to grant his application and allow that the 4 children he is alleged to have fathered with a Lusaka resident be subjected to a DNA test and clear up the allegations. Mr. Lusambo, who has continued to maintain his stance that he has never been in any sexual relationship with Mercy Coham of Lusaka's Kanyama compound, tells the Lusaka High Court that a DNA test is the only sure way to determine the paternity of the 4 children. This is in a case in which the Kabushi lawmaker has dragged Ms. Coham to the Lusaka High Court for alleging that she was in a relationship with him and fathered 4 children. Ms. Coham, on the other hand, demands for child maintenance at 13,900 kwacha per month, submissions which were filed previously before court. But Mr. Lusambo wants the court to order Ms. Coham to retract and apologize to him of her statements in question. He demands for cost and any other reliefs the court might deem fit. In his latest submission, Mr. Lusambo has filed an affidavit in support of summon for a paternity test, which he now pleads with the court that this application be granted for a DNA test. According to him, his application is anchored on Order 3, Rule 2 of the High Court Rules, Chapter 27 of the Laws of Zambia. Mr. Lusambo has also further told the court that he is a responsible citizen and a man of honor highly respected in society. Hence, the allegation that he is the father of the 4 children are incorrect and untrue. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The state has asked the Lusaka Magistrate Court to dismiss an application by the defense not to allow one of their clients, Wilson Lungu, to undergo trial in a matter in which he and 4 others allegedly failed to follow procedure or in the procurement process of drugs by Honeybee Pharmacy. The state contends that the application should not be entertained because the notice of acquittal availed by the defense was allegedly irregularly issued. In this case, where Mr. Lungu, a chief purchasing and supply officer, and 4 Ministry of Health officials are accused of willful failure to comply with applicable law and procedure in the supply and delivery of 22,500 health center kits by Honeybee Pharmacy.
It was a heated court session Monday morning at the Lusaka's Magistrate Court during the hearing of a case in which 5 Ministry of Health officials are accused of failing to abide by the guidelines relating to procurement during the purchasing of defective drugs, condoms and gloves which were supplied by Honeybee Pharmacy. Wilson Lungu, a chief purchasing and supplying officer, is jointly charged with 4 others, among them Daniel Makawa, a senior registrar surgery, Emmanuel Muwanga and Boyd Mwanachibala, both pharmacists, with 2 counts of willful failure to follow applicable procedure or guidelines. In this case, Mr. Lungu and the said 4 Ministry of Health officials are accused of willful failure to comply with applicable law and procedure in the supply and delivery of 22,500 health center kits by Honeybee Pharmacy. In the previous court session, Mr. Lungu's lawyers raised some preliminary issues questioning whether their client can be tried over the similar charges he was previously acquitted of by another magistrate. According to the submission before court, it indicates that Mr. Lungu was in January 2021 dragged to the Lusaka's Magistrate Court after a lawyer by the name of Joseph Chiwa filed a complaint. However, the same case was withdrawn by the said complainant on the same day, the 19th of January 2021. It is further said that the matter was then allocated to a different magistrate who then rendered a ruling on the 26th of January 2021 and acquitted him and others despite them not taking plea and the case even going to trial. In the said case, he was jointly charged with the former Minister of Health, Dr. Shitalu Chilufya, former Permanent Secretary for Administration, Kakulu Belwa, and others with a similar offense of willful failure to comply with the law and applicable procedure, and were all acquitted without being put to trial on account that the complainant withdrew the complaint. Making their further submissions when the matter came up before Lusaka Magistrate Jennifer Walia, the state submitted that a perusal on the record does not show that the accused appeared before court nor pleaded to the charge. The state submits that the fact that the accused did not plead to the charge is in contravention of what the law provides. The state argues that this scenario was not in conformity with the provision of Section 201 of the Criminal Procedure Code, which requires that the court must be satisfied with sufficient grounds of permitting the complainant to withdraw his complaint. And in response to the state's argument, the defense have argued that the mandate in the application was not to test the illegality of the acquittal, but to ascertain whether an acquittal exists as a matter of fact. The state, on the other hand, have applied that the matter be referred to the Lusaka High Court to determine if the alleged notification of the acquittal was competently issued, since matters regarding the illegality of the acquittal can only be determined by the higher court, considering that the magistrate share equal authority. The matter has since been adjourned to April 1st, 2022 for ruling. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Bank of Zambia Governor Dr. Daniel Kalialia says the rise in the use of digital financial services has introduced significant risks for individuals as well as for financial service providers. The governor, who spoke at the national launch of the 2022 Financial Literacy Week, says there is greater need to enhance cybersecurity and raise awareness about fraud to secure higher uptake and protect the consumers of digital financial services. The governor, however, says technology and innovation in the financial sector has played a major role in raising the levels of financial inclusion in the country over the last 5 years. The 2022 Financial Literacy Week is being held under the theme Build Your Future, Be Money Smart.
Digital platforms facilitate relatively safe, efficient and convenient service delivery and allow for tracking of financial transactions. This notwithstanding, the rise in the use of digital financial services has also introduced significant risks for individuals as well as for financial service providers. To address these risks, there is greater need to enhance cybersecurity and raise awareness about fraud to secure higher uptake and protect the consumers of digital financial services.
Have your money, it's in the bank, you have your money, it's on your wallet, it's on the insurance companies, but how do you protect it? So one of the things that we focus on as banks is to ensure that you look after your PIN. Don't share your PIN with anybody. Don't put your PIN and the card together. It's as basic as it sounds, but a lot of clients have gotten defrauded just because they have combined, the money, the card, you've got a debit card and you memorize or you put it on the phone somewhere, and the fraudsters know exactly where to get the PIN number.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy. agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda, trade and logistics made easy.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
On Monday, 21st March 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba at 20:45 hours with his guest, Professor Munkumba.
Youth empowerment and inclusive development. In Zambia, we have at least 9 million youths, of which 2 million are excluded, and they need to be included in the affairs of the nation. The subject of youth empowerment and youths themselves, they are both an asset if well harnessed, but can be a time bomb, and a difficult time bomb to diffuse if not properly handled in a proactive manner.
Don't let this moment pass you by. Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Do you have an extra car? Then make yourself extra money. We would like to put that car, yes, that car parked there, to good use to make you extra money on the side just through its service while keeping it safe and secure. Call 0765 02 3883 to register your vehicle with us today. Delpo Services, service beyond satisfaction.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the rest of the main news. Care for Nature Zambia Executive Director Nsama Msonda Kens has appealed to the government through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment to increase funding for community-based forestry programs. Mrs. Kens says this will enable communities to take an active role in forest management and in the establishment of their own community forests to sustain their livelihoods. Mrs. Kens also says that government should ensure that all protected forests are well marked with visible boundaries to avoid encroachment and adopt a closed canon approach that will never again allow forests to be de-gazetted for personal gain. Care for Nature Director was speaking in commemoration of the International Day of Forest, which falls on the 21st of March of each year and being held under the theme Forests and Sustainable Production and Consumption.
Because of the significant role that forests play in sustaining livelihoods, our government of the Republic of Zambia has committed to reduce deforestation by 2030. However, our forests still face a lot of challenges, such as excess cutting down of tree for charcoal and investments such as mining being conducted in forest reserves, and also forests being converted to other land uses such as settlements and plots for agriculture. We would therefore like to appeal to the government through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment that they increase investment towards forest management so that communities can access education and understand the importance of forest management so that they can participate in conservation willingly.
Ministry of Energy Permanent Secretary Francisca Ziambo has appealed to members of Parliament to allocate some of the Constituency Development Fund towards rural electrification. In an interview, Ms. Ziambo says with only 8 years to go till 2030 for the whole country to be electrified, the picture of rural electrification is still gloomy as it only stands at 8%. Rural electrification has remained a concern as the limited access to electricity in these areas has been negatively affecting pupils in subjects such as information communication technologies, ICTS.
As Zambia moves towards its development agenda, electricity has been identified as a key component in driving the country to its agenda. Apart from its use at household level, electricity is a driver of the economy as it is also used in electronics and also in industries, hence creating employment. While over 60% of urban areas are electrified, only 8% of rural areas have been electrified, causing a wide margin. Concerns about school pupils in subjects such as information communication technologies ICTs have been arising as these need computers if to learn efficiently. Ministry of Energy Permanent Secretary Ms. Francesca Ziambo says what has been hindering much progress is limited funds and has since called on members of parliament to consider allocating part of the Constituency Development Fund CDF towards rural electrification.
As you may be aware, the CDF has been increased, so we were calling upon MPs that if you can apportion some of the money of the CDF, we could use to complement the money that comes from the government.
She adds that if this is not done, Zambia will not achieve its 2030 agenda of having the whole country electrified.
So when you hear that electrification of rural areas is at 8%, indeed that is progress because we are moving from 4% not too long ago to 8% now. So usually we don't have a lot of funds for the development of the entire country, but where we can, we do.
Calls have been for investors to pump in funds for alternative sources of energy such as solar to increase access to clean and affordable energy. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts Elvis Nkandu has rubbished statements that the National Youth Indaba that was recently held on the 10th of March 2022 was simply a public stunt aimed at portraying the United Party for National Development administration as one which is addressing concerns of youths in the country. In an exclusive interview with Camnet News, Mr. Nkandu says the ministry intends to go to all 10 provinces of the country in order to identify potential skills that youths can engage in, stating that resources for the same are readily available. Stakeholders, among them Democratic Party President Harry KALABA, have been questioning the effectiveness of the National Youth Indaba for the ordinary youths, describing it as a political stunt.
Successive administrations in Zambia have made promises to address problems being faced by the youths, but the effectiveness of such programs has been questioned by stakeholders as most youths in the country continue to face problems like high unemployment levels. The country is one of the few around the world whose population is mostly made up of youths due to a low life expectancy, which currently stands at 47 years according to the World Health Organization. This has led to over half of Zambia's population being made up of youths, as documented by the United Nations Population Fund. As in other developing countries, a high number of youths are unemployed due to limited opportunities in the formal sector. Access to finance is also a challenge, which has hindered many from venturing into business opportunities. The United Party for National Development UPND administration on 10th March 2022 held a national indaba aimed at hearing the challenges affecting youths in the country as one way of finding solutions to the same. Stakeholders, among them Democratic Party DP President Harry KALABA, have questioned the effectiveness of the Indaba in comparison to similar programs in the past. Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts Mr. Elvis Nkandu has however assured that issues talked about at the National Indaba will be effective in addressing problems affecting the youth.
That Indaba is now looking at the action plan because we can't just take that as a social gathering. It was a gathering that should yield fruits. Which fruits? That should culminate into an action plan that we are doing this. And I believe, and I know that that will be an annual event because we need now to see what we've done in a previous year. If really what we had put in an action plan has been actualized. So that will be an annual event which the young people should know that it could be a platform where we need now to evaluate what has been done so far.
He says a program to visit all 10 provinces in the country has been put in place, which aims at identifying skills that youth can venture into in each province.
I still believe that it's not everyone, every person, or every young person who came to the Indawa. But when we get into the provinces, we'll be able to meet as many people as possible, as many young people as possible. So, yes, I want to confirm that we have a plan to get into provinces. And very soon, you will see me now in provinces and also get views from the young people of how best they want to be managed. It was not just only about empowerment. You are aware that some people are saying they need, at every decision-making a structure, they need to be part. So we got some of those views so that when we come up with an action plan, when we come up with a, in fact, I would say that they came up with a communique of demands, that this is what they want to be managed, this is what they want to be involved in, and also looking at the theme itself, enhancing youth participation at all levels of national development. We should actualize that in terms of whatever positions that we are coming up with, structures that we are coming up with, youth should also be part. So I think that is very, very important. So for me, people just need to appreciate. The problem that we have in this country is that when you are doing something good, there are also people that can turn a good thing into a bad thing.
Despite calls for Zambians to form cooperatives, if to stand a chance of benefiting from the increased Constituency Development Fund (CDF), youths have been calling for more opportunities, stating that CDF cannot account for all the youths in the country who are in need of empowerment. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Bishop Kobe Ndlovu has called for unity in the country past the burial of 4th Republican President Rupia Banda. In an interview, Bishop Ndlovu said the fight for the country's independence by the forefathers should not be in vain, hence the need to ensure that issues that divide the nation, such as tribalism and political divides, are not entertained. Zambia's 4th Republican President Rupia Banda has been described as a unifier by many for various deeds, among them his decision to peacefully concede defeat in 2011 to the Patriotic Front following the loss of the movement for multi-party democracy.
When a great man like Mr. Rupia dies, a great statesman, we must understand that it's a void, a gap that is left in a nation. And obviously there has to be a replacement. And in this case in Zambia, like the youths have been saying, it's somehow automatic that we need somebody who can stand in as an elder statesman. And obviously Mr. Edgar Chagwalungu automatically takes over, which is really true. That is also, I believe, terms of political, because we also have spiritual fathers like our own here, Pastor Moses Chiluba and other fathers who have been in the things of the Lord for a very long time. So I think their assumption is actually very, very true, because that is what is going to unite the nation. One factor that I've noticed, which is very cardinal, is that it is now up to him as the president, who's been the former president, to take that role. And the way he takes it, it means he has to totally stay away from partisan politics. He needs to go above each and every political party and becomes the father to even the incumbent president and all other opposition presidents. The fact that he's no longer the president, that doesn't negate the fact that now he needs to advise the nation. Is it 7 or 8 years that he ruled? He got a lot of experience. And that experience, he can actually inculcate it now in the upcoming politicians.
Partners Against Piracy has honored various journalists with awards for their impact reportage on piracy and its effect on the industry. Speaking when he presented the awards to deserving journalists, Permanent Secretary Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts Permanent Secretary Kangwachileshe says piracy has had a negative impact on the government revenue. 10 journalists emerged winners of the POP Media Challenge in the print, broadcasting and online categories, among them Camnet TV journalist Patrick Soko.
The media plays an important role in the fight against piracy. It helps educate the public about piracy and its effects on society by highlighting the dangers associated with selling stolen content. Monday, March 21, 2022, Partners Against Piracy (PAP) has honored various journalists with awards for their impactful reporting on piracy and its effect on society. Speaking when he presented the awards to deserving journalists, Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe notes that piracy has a negative effect on the government revenue and journalists has a huge role to play in helping fight the scourge.
The industry is aware that for arts industry to develop, there is need to protect content developed by various artists against piracy. Allow me to mention that my ministry has noted with concern that violation of intellectual property continues to be a problem in our society. Notably, the country is faced with individuals who deprive hard-working creators of their income through production, selling and distributing pirated content. In this regard, the government of the Republic of Zambia, working in collaboration with cooperating partners, shall continue to fight the battle against piracy through legislative and policy reforms.
A Nation Arts Council, NAC, and its partners recognizes the fact that piracy has evolved in the digital era, and it is important to ensure that people are educated about all forms of piracy through the media. Meanwhile, 10 journalists has emerged winners of the PAP Media Challenge of the print, broadcasting and online categories, among them being Camnet TV's journalist Patrick Soko, who scooped the second runner-up Best Television Reporting. Launched in December 2021, the PAP Media Challenge recognizes journalistic reporting that educates the public against piracy in Zambia. It has since unveiled a new logo, part of the ongoing evolution and efforts to fight piracy. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
We'll take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Now getting into our international item. An emergency polio vaccination campaign is already underway in Malawi following the detection of its first case in 30 years. The campaign will target nearly 3 million children under 5 years in Malawi, but also in 3 neighboring countries. The virus was detected in a 4-year-old girl over a week ago. President Lazarus Chakwera declared a national health emergency, ordering 14 million doses of the vaccine. In other international news, Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa wrapped up a 3-day trip to Mozambique on Sunday with a visit to 2 units of the European Union training mission in the country. Here's a roundup of international news.
The emergency polio vaccination campaign is already underway in Malawi, following the detection of its first case in 30 years. The campaign will target nearly 3 million children under 5 years old in Malawi, but also in 3 neighboring countries.
It's not just a Malawi effort, it's a cross-border effort as well with the 3 neighboring countries. So the same team of experts is working not just with the Malawi government, but also with the governments of the 3 neighboring countries to make sure that we have a synchronized effort.
The virus was detected in a 4-year-old girl over a week ago. President Lazarus Chakwera declared a national health emergency, ordering 14 million doses of the vaccine. My child is 2 years and 6 months old. He received all the polio vaccines, but I have brought him for another round of vaccine because this is a special program to ensure that he is not under the threat of polio. Africa was declared free of indigenous wild polio in August 2020 after an exhaustive immunization campaign. Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa wrapped up a 3-day trip to Mozambique with a visit to 2 units of the European Union training mission in the country. During the visit, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa said that resolving the conflict in Cabo Delgado, in the north of Mozambique, remained a priority both for Portugal and the EU. Rebelo de Sousa stressed the need for Mozambique to guarantee the security of the population and the defeat of terrorism.
Essa vitória é uma vitória militar, por lado, mas também uma vitória económica, uma vitória social.
This victory is a military victory on the one hand, but also an economic victory, a social victory, and a human victory. Total victory means allowing the populations to carry out their activities normally, without being conditioned by the existence of terrorism.
Não ficando condicionadas pela existência de terrorismo.
Since 2017, that the province of Cabo Delgado, rich in natural gas, has been plagued by armed groups, some with alleged links to the self-proclaimed Islamic State. The Portuguese head of state assured that as soon as the new executive led by Prime Minister António Costa takes office, the long-promised bilateral summit between the 2 countries, postponed due to elections in Portugal, will be finally scheduled. Before leaving, Rebelo de Sousa promised he would return to Mozambique in August for the reopening of the Climane Cathedral in Zambezia province. A court in South Africa ordered the suspension of the building works of Amazon's African headquarters. The court ruling, announced on Sunday, takes the side of indigenous communities who hold the site sacred. The ruling ordered the developers to hold meaningful consultations with the Khoisan people who first resisted Portuguese colonizers on that site in 1510. Construction of the 4 billion rand or 231 million euros building complex is already underway. Previously, the site was being used as a golf course.
We now get into sports news. Zambia's Sports Fans Association patron Peter Makembo says the CHIPOLOPOLO coach Aljoso Asonovic needs to find a winning formula that will take the team to AFCON and World Cup. In an interview with Camnet Sports, Makembo says the coach has to go back to the drawing board and meet the fans' expectations in order to qualify for the tournaments. Makembo adds that the players equally need to put in their level best and be disciplined when conducting training, stating that the senior national team has potential to go higher. Recently, Zambia lost in a friendly encounter against Iraq by 3-0, bringing doubt in some fans of the CHIPOLOPOLO senior coach capabilities.
Big match, maybe 1-0, okay, it's reasonable. With the 3, it will tell you to say there is more work which needs to be done. Because come June, we will be moving into these real games. Time of our preparation, it's now and before that June. And knowing to say we did not have our major players in that team, the coach was trying to see who could be there. And who could be there, he saw what could be there. So our advice to the technical bench is that please up your timings there and make sure that you monitor those professionals whom we want to call, so that come that time we don't want to go the Iraqi way. We want to move in a positiveness of finding the winning formula. This is why we have got faith on that bench for FAS to have even taken the 4-year term for them.
Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. DP President Harry KALABA weighs in on drug shortages in hospitals. PF Vice President given LUBINDA nabbed for corruption. Government urged to get rid of CADRES masquerading as contractors. And in international news, emergency polio vaccination campaign gets underway in Malawi. And in sports, CHIPOLOPOLO coach challenged to find the winning formula. Before we go, our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Jeremiah 29:13-14, and it reads, "You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you. This is the Lord's declaration, and I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and places where I banished you. This is the Lord's declaration. I will restore you to the place I deported you from." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzeya Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.